Hello, this is Jimmy Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's get right into it. First, we have, this is alarming to me. See, the LEL has a coded language database of words and numbers they gathered from years of scraping data from private citizens. The number 43, for instance, is a dog whistle. This uses fear of censorship to self-censor. Database linked in the comments from the red-headed libertarian on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, Twitter user, it was my father's 88th birthday today. ADL and MSM, racist language at Twitter up 100%, up 1,000%. Advertisers should pull out. I'm noting that groups tend to be disingenuous when it comes to making their narratives. You see it all the time on social media. In addition, they're gonna label anything that questions the narrative as neo-Nazi or white supremacist these days, it looks like. And I don't think that's good. You think you should have free speech label whatever you want, but I think, they're trying to break down your free speech by forcing Twitter to censor, or else they'll threaten to pull the advertisers out, and then Twitter won't be able to earn a profit and they'll have to go under. It's the same for all the other social media. They control the narrative by controlling the Discord, but the websites, and therefore control the discourse. Then we have progressive pro-lifer enters 2024 Democratic primary to advocate for the unborn from National Review, and I posted that, and I said, probably isn't going to get very far against an incumbent Democrat, especially since her position on abortion is an antithesis to the DNC's. But Randall Terry actually won a few counties in Oklahoma against Obama in the 2012 primary, so never say never, I guess. I'm personally more pro-choice, but I always do like to see people try and go against party lines. Then we have North Carolina, GOP hides redistricting from public records law. Authoritarians want to keep picking their voters. From TheIntercept.com by Patan 13. And yeah, I definitely agree, but it's authoritarians on both sides. If it was the other side, that would be like New York's gerrymandering, which favors the Democrats. So it's really nothing too different than what both branches of the Uni Party do, I would say, to keep themselves in power forever. Then we have Tim Gurner, we need to see pain in the economy, was debunked by an economist in 1943 from TheIntercept.com and over by Patan 13, and that is interesting, I would say, yeah, but I don't really trust a lot of left wingers of economics, I would say, so that's something I would take with a grain of salt, I would say. Left wingers are always not the most trustworthy when it comes to economics. That's why a lot of left-wing communist countries like the Soviet Union had problems with mass starvation. Then we have GOP congressman calls for execution of sodomy promoting U.S. Army general from LGBTQNation.com from Kage blah blah blah, and that looks interesting. I said it's only okay when Bill Well says it. Bill Well said, GOP challenger Bill Weld, Trump committed treason and the penalty for treason is death. But, he got away with that. But now Trump says, someone should be killed. Now people actually care because, it's only bad when the narrative says it's bad. Otherwise, a lot of people say Trump should be put to death for his crimes. But, they don't care when people say that. They think that's justified. But, when Trump says it, it's the worst thing ever. I think all the politicians, probably all of them or at least 90% probably deserve life in prison at the very least. Maybe death. But, I'm personally against the death penalty. But if there's anyone who deserves this undoubtedly, I would say the U.S. government. And it's the people who make it up, I would say. Then we have Florida Governor Ron DeSantis caught signing bill indoctrinating high schoolers in far-right ideology from ResidentNews.net from Comrade Proton, and that is a story from, financial literacy now required for high schoolers. I think this account might be satire, but it's pretty much the par for the course on Reddit at this point. As they say in their comment, financial literacy is a fascist dog whistle pushed by the oligarchs like the Kochs. And I think that's, I don't know, they're probably, a satire account, but at this point, you really can't tell anymore, I would say. Then we have Canada's 338 members of parliament become Nazis from Free Moose Press, and I posted that, and I said, freezing bank accounts of protesters wasn't enough for Trudeau. Now his entire country has become the fourth right, because, if there is one person at a table who's a Nazi, and there's 10 other people at a table as well, and the other 10 people are kicking them out, then they're all Nazis. But, they don't apply it to the standard to them, because Canada's a left-wing country, and that would go against the narrative. So it's, it just goes to show you that, like everything, it's a people only have double standards, and all the standards they try and apply are never going to be held back against them, because they are ultimately go against the narrative. And I think that's important. Yeah, so yeah. Then we have 60 Minutes discovered the U.S. is financing more than weapons in Ukraine. The government is buying seeds/fertilizers for farmers, paying the salaries of $57,000 for 57,000 first responders, and subsidizing small businesses. From 60 Minutes on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, people wonder why Trump's America First rhetoric is popular, and ABC News has him leading Biden by 10% in a new poll. He's probably just going to do the exact same thing in office, though. The thing is, Ukraine isn't the 51st state, and it shouldn't be treated better than most of the home front is these days by our government. Then we have Hillary Clinton sounds alarm on Putin election meddling, warning he'll do it again. From Emily Post, and I posted that, and I said, are you looking for an excuse if they lose the election next year? I don't like Trump so much, though, that I voted Dem in the last two POTUS elections. But with that being said, I'm so happy this woman never became POTUS. As they always find excuses, they need to take some personal responsibility. You just can't always say, you can't always look for excuses and for an answer. You gotta say, we lost the election fair and square. Now we need to move on. But no, they always it's like they say, oh, Trump, he can't say, oh, fraud. Well, and when they lose the next year, they'll go Russia. They said, oh, 2016 Russian interference, in 2020 less Russian interference, almost none because we won. And in 2024 it'll go, oh, Russian interference again. But it doesn't really matter because they're all the same party anyway, I would say. So I think it's all just theater. Then we have how, after a lifetime of appearing in blackface, does Justin Trudeau get caught applauding an SS soldier who fought for the Nazis and then instantly starts blabbling about Russian disinformation? Do you see how Western elites use Russia to blame for all their failings? From Glenn Greenwald on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, am I so out of touch? No, it must be Russia and any other excuse that I can come up with. Then they won't apologize for it. They'll just say, oh, Russian disinformation. They always have the Russian disinformation card. They'll never take accountability for their actions. They'll just always, maybe they'll have a few fall guys do it, like the speaker who had invited the guy, but I think the speaker just resigned. But they'll have a few fall guys. But other than that, they're never going to take responsibility, and they're just going to keep doing stuff like this, and people will keep defending it because their party's doing it. Then we have, only democracy creates the pretense that the average human's views are of any relevance in organizing a society, not to mention the claim that they have views to begin with. From Michael Mouse on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter, Winston Churchill, misattributed. When Illinois Governor Adlai Stevenson ran for president in the 1950s, a supporter probably said to him, every thinking person in America will be voting for you. Stevenson replied, I'm afraid that won't do. I need a majority. So, it just goes to show you why you probably shouldn't have democracy. No, my alternative is if people want to form their own collectives and do democracy, they can do so, but they shouldn't be forcing others to join as well. Everyone should make decisions for themselves, and democracies are being making decisions for you, and I don't think that is libertarian. Then we have the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act will hurt the woman it's supposed to help from John Stossel on YouTube. And that is, yeah. I said, I don't know if I said anything, but yeah, I think it was interesting how they, might make it harder to hire pregnant workers if they have to have all these accommodations for them, and the private companies might not want to do that. I definitely don't think, I think we need to be against corporate authoritarianism. I don't think the state authoritarianism is the answer to that, I would say. We shouldn't have the state forcing private companies to do things if they don't have the resources to do them, and providing special treatment for some some of their employees because the state forces them to. Then we have Armenia warns of ethnic cleansing as thousands flee the Nagorno-Karabakh enclave from CNBC, and I posted that and I said, did you know that Armenia and Azerbaijan had a full-fledged war in 2020, and tensions and clashes between two of them are still common and currently escalated again, but like with Ukraine, the U.S. can't grift off of it, so no one talks about it. So the thing is, I'm just saying, I don't see a bunch of Armenian flags in people's bios like I do Ukrainian ones. You can't virtue signal when no one knows what the signal is. Then we have, this is ridiculous, they didn't hack anything, it was all Russian disinformation from Michael Malice on Twitter, and I posted that, and that was his post of a new headline from CNN. Hunter Biden sues Rudy Giuliani and his former attorney, alleging they tried to hack his devices. And I said, leftists, you can't just blame a single scapegoat for all the world's problems like the Nazis did to the Jews. And I said, also leftists, this must be Russia's fault. That's all they do is Russia, 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 Russia. It's like Joseph McCarthy going communist, 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 communist. It's just, you gotta find another boogeyman at some point. You have Russia, and it's pretty much it right now. But you have Russia and just Trump, that's pretty much all you have right now. Find someone new, I would say. Then we have Reddit comprises mostly of dumb people pretending to be smart, while 4chan comprises smart people acting to be dumb. And that was the Crosswords from the Showerfault subreddit, a post made in February 2015. And I do think that's, and I do say, I said almost a decade later, and it's still very much true, IMO. You see the same kinds of pseudo-intellectuals on Reddit who think they know everything and think they are better than everyone else. And that's not something that I personally care for very much. But, thanks to social media, that seems to be the most common personality trait these days. So, that's why I'm on Reddit. You just have to learn to deal with that. Then we have, any true journalist should be proud to be denounced by a government, not commanded by them, from Segar Unjeti on Twitter. And I posted that, and I said, agreed. Journalists should be the enemies of the state, not their friends. Then we have the whitewashing of Ukrainian Waffen 14th SS Division Galicia, the attempt to rewrite history of Hitler's collaborators, from Delu Fellow on from espiritdecorps.ca. And yeah, that's interesting. I said, Nazis are bad, except when the narrative says otherwise. If this was a guy getting cheered at the GOP convention, the Reddit Twitter left will be all over it. They'll go, look, they're cheering a Nazi. You can't do that. But suddenly, if they're doing it in a more left-leaning context, suddenly, we're just going to whitewash it and make excuses. Russian disinformation. That just goes to show you what the narrative is much more important than anything else here. Then we have the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, Memon and the Hippie Pope. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops doesn't reflect the papacy. It doesn't even reflect the beliefs of its members or its priests. These bishops have allied themselves with the ultra-right Christian white nationalists, and that's Crosswords from the Christianity subreddit from Chi-Town 20. And, yeah, I don't know, I do think the Pope's kind of more on the left, and, I do think U.S. Catholics might be a little more right, but, the thing is, I like what Live for Your Spaz says in comments. Are they define white nationalists as someone who is an actual white nationalist, or do they mean a person who doesn't think men can have babies? That's the thing is, if you disagree at all, you're going to be a white nationalist, a fascist, an authoritarian, etc, etc. It's just, they're all just words for the outgroup at this point. They mean nothing. It's like the way you cried wolf, they just keep crying wolf. and eventually you just don't care anymore. Then we have slavery exists within capitalist markets and it needs to stop now from Vimeo.com by Chai1020. That's across from the May Day Strike subreddit from a video from Joe Brown. You are creating slavery. And, that's interesting, I think, slavery is kind of, I would say, I don't care for slavery, but it's kind of an inevitability when it comes to humanity. People need to, nothing you get is for free, and people always want to need as cheap labor as possible, and that's why slavery exists. And slavery used to be supported worldwide, but now it isn't. So that's at least progress, I guess. But it's still very much going on under the table. I think it will be for centuries to come. I'll say that's the sad truth. Then we'll have put one of us in jail for valid reasons. Fine will no longer protect you from terrorist attacks and gang violence from Chai1020, and that's the crossroads from the Facepalm subreddit. Met police request support from Army after officers down firearms. Smith Romney needs to go on the Army provide counterterrorism support and to protest by firearms officers who downed their weapons after colleague was charged with murder. And that's interesting, yeah. The thing is, I would agree, they're pretty much all the same state troops, so it doesn't really matter, I would say. They're all just foot soldiers for the state, and the state isn't your friend, regardless of what country it is, I would say. Or local municipality or state municipality as well. Then we have a Republican Supreme Court majority legalized bribery protecting Menendez and Clarence Thomas from breaking points from Chai1020 across from the breaking points news subreddit, and I would agree. They just always find a way to excuse their politicians, and that's something I think we're only going to see as time continues to go on. They might have a few fall guys here and there, but most of them will just get along just fine. As long as the news cycle just keeps moving on to something else, I would say. Then we have, did Trump just pull Hunter across from the Breaking Points news subreddit? I said, neither of them are ever going to face real consequences. I don't think they should charge Hunter or Trump for that matter on any matters related to drugs or guns. But the thing is, they always charge calm people with them, but they make an exception for them since they are elites. Then we have U.S. sues authoritarian oligarchic state of Amazon in a monopoly case that could be existential for the retail giant from NPR.org by Chai1020. And I personally don't think, I don't care for corporate authoritarianism, but I don't think state authoritarianism is the answer to corporate authoritarianism, I would say. So that's my thoughts here. I'll write it down. I personally don't care for state authoritarianism, for corporate authoritarianism. But I don't think state authoritarianism is the answer to it. Then we have, will the government shutdown result in hunger for millions? As Reuters claims from Reason.com, and I posted that, and I said, because that totally happened the last 2 or 3 times we had one, sarcasm. The thing is, the government shutdown, it's just, they'll keep all the programs running as if they can justify them. It's also, so, if they can justify them, they'll still keep pumping money into Ukraine, so it doesn't really matter. They'll probably put up like a barricade in National Park that people can walk over like they did the last 2 or 3 times. But other than that, they probably won't do much. It's all just theater. That's all politics is, pretty much is theater. And that's the sad truth is, it's not really anything else. It's just all kind of just Hollywood at this point. Then we have agreed. There's little practical difference between Ramesses II and whoever the current POTUS is, and that's a meme. I put OP National Social Denials my reply to it. The meme was 2500 BC, Genesis 47, slaves owned by Pharaoh required to pay him 20% of their income crop harvest. In 2023 AD, the median U.S. taxpayer pays 24.8% income tax, along with 7.65% FICA taxes. On his tax income, he then pays sales tax, property tax, gas tax, many other taxes and fees. It's just there's practically no difference between Ramesses II and what came to taxes and now. And the same thing as the government still thinks it owns you. The figure had just changed over the course of the few thousand years. Then we have, I think that might be it. Let's see. Now we have Texas is banned certain drag shows as unconstitutional. Federal drag judge says from TexasTribune.org. And I guess I would agree with that. We need to support free speech and free, expression. I personally don't think you should be taking your kids to these very sexualized drag shows, but I think, if they want to let you in and, the strip club or anything, you should take your kids there. I think it should be legal but stigmatized, like taking your kids to strip clubs, but I don't think it should be illegal because I think, it's not something I would do, but, I don't think it's the state's job to force its moral standards on people. So, with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up there. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.